Role-playing. This is a pretty self-explanatory term for the average English speaker. It is to play the role of a character and play the role under given circumstances. Wait, take up the role of a character? We've been at a mimicry contest or have been at the theatre watching a play or a skit and have acted or, in this context, role-played as a relevant character. Now this might only be an Indian thing, but I remember partaking in several fancy dress competitions as a child. Dressing up and role-playing as a policeman, a doctor, a politician, a celebrity. Yes, we've all done it in our lifetime, whether it was to mimic a person or it was to act as a whole new person. It was indeed role-playing. Role-playing in video games has also been a very prominent thing. While the history of RPG games might stretch back a couple of decades, it is still a very relevant and popular game genre. Now, if you're active in the multiplayer gaming community or watch gaming content on YouTube, which you probably do, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video in the first place, you may have come across GTA 5 role-playing. There are content creators and people playing the role of a character in a vast open world amongst other people who are also playing the role of a fictional character. Some of these characters are goofy, some characters are determined, some are charming, and some are just average employed or unemployed people. But some are just straight up NPCs. And when they come together, they create a fun and dynamic environment for everyone by interacting with one another. It is interesting to watch since many of these roleplay servers require to sort of stick to one backstory for your character, and once approved, choose to do what your character would like to do further. Once you find yourself playing on one of these servers, the first thing that appeals to you the most is to see a real person sitting behind a computer screen, playing with you as an anonymous fictional character in this vastly open, dynamic, and ever evolving world such as GTA 5's Los Santos. I remember role-playing being in those Pokemon games you could play via an emulator or on the Nintendo consoles. You could name your character and you could also give nicknames to your Pokemons. You basically got the chance to roleplay as a Pokemon trainer, and to be honest, it was a lot of fun. I'm sure we all have good memories of those games and remember how hard it was to beat the final trainers unless your Pokemons made it to a certain level in the game. I reckon you might have played similar games to it like Elder Scrolls, Mass Effect, Yakuza, Elden Ring, and The Witcher, wherein you're given the liberty to decide how the game progresses. The game hands the player the full control over certain character aspects that alters the future and the ending of the game, which is best suited for what choices you made as you played through it. In more recent games like Cyberpunk, Red Dead Online, etc., you see the introductory sequence of the games lets you name your character, choose how they look, and play as them. While it may not really seem like role-playing, it is in fact the most foundational form of role-playing that you may have indulged in, knowingly or unknowingly. There are plenty of more such games, predominantly open-world story mode games that offer the player the ability to do a mission before another, or just hang out in the world, or do a side activity for their own entertainment. You'll probably have seen this in Sleeping Dogs, the Grand Theft Auto games, and even Red Dead games and so on. Though you have a predetermined path set in the game, you are given limited freedom, just like this. While these games are not really given the tag of being an RPG game, they have some mechanics that involve role-playing. US presidents play GTA 5 and time travel. I'm sure you all have seen videos of this on the internet. This is a role-playing video in which the creator is dressed as Donald Trump and accompanied by NPC Obama and Biden, and they do funny stuff together. This is literally milking content out of a dead-ass story mode, where nothing except shooting NPCs is fun. But when you do stuff like this, it makes it entertaining and fun. And shout out to Portis Play, whoever you are. I'm a big fan of these videos. Matter of fact, I remember doing this as a kid. After I had finished the story, I aimed my gun at a couple of Grove Street members and pressed G to gang up. And I took them on a road trip and talked to myself in the head, and even roleplayed taking CJ's son out for a road trip to discover the secrets of Mount Chiliad. Anyways, moving on. As for a better example to demonstrate how roleplay elements are still prominent in newer games, in Red Dead Redemption 2, spoiler alert, you have 4 alternate endings, all affected by the many choices that you made during the story, all made possible by an honor system which determined what ending you got for your time with Arthur. He would in the end be killed by Micah, but he would either go down as an honorable man or a dishonorable man, by the choices that the player made. This game tailor-made an ending that you would find satisfactory based on your old values and morals. If you decided that Arthur is actually a good man whose life is a tragedy, then he'll get to experience a good emotional ending. But if you decided that he's a man who's selfish and decides not to succumb to choosing potentially disadvantageous options based on emotional bonding with NPCs, then he will experience a cold ending. But it would probably be satisfactory for the player who chose to make Arthur go down that way for reasons best known to themselves. If you look at this from a bird eye view, it is you, role-playing being a gunslinger in the Wild West in an open world and acting in accord with the circumstances Arthur Morgan and John Marston later in the story is put through. Coming back to what's in trend these days, GTA 5 based role-playing.
चौथ के बच्चे
कोई दिक्कत नहीं बात
चुप तेरी बहन की चुप चुप बहन के लंड बहन के लौड़े
I must mention that the GTA games such as San Andreas, 4, 5, heck, even Red Dead Redemption 2 is just the place to reach the peak roleplay experience. While I was writing the script, I even learned that there's a term for multiplayer RPG games and it is called live action roleplaying or LARP. A company called CFX.RE, which if you didn't already know is a software company responsible for the multiplayer modifications for Grand Theft Auto 5 and RDR 2 called 5M and Redem respectively. This mod hosts these roleplay servers with a lot of game assets you would need for a realistic roleplay experience. So much so that I would call them real-life simulators. The developers of these games often have unprecedented amounts of creative freedom, meaning that the developers can do whatever they want and make a roleplay server with the tools that they're given by Rockstar Games and really put out a fun, enjoyable and immersive game for the people to enjoy. I mean, in GTA 5 there's cars, there's tall buildings, there's money, there's business, there's mafias, public transport, garbage bins, hospitals, law enforcers, houses, banks, casinos, airplanes, football fields, basketball courts, hundreds of pet models, bikes, foods, beaches, mountains, accessories. You get it. Grand Theft Auto 5 is filled to the brim with so many assets that these developers can rewrite and how they're meant to be used in their servers. To put this into perspective, I mentioned that there's money, there's law, there's business and there's power and so on and so forth. You might identify a couple of more things that are quite literally the foundational aspects of society. That's right, you're simulating society with real people in the virtual world, in a video game. And it is a fact that there is an instilled and toned down version of a society role-playing game like this, and so without a doubt, I call this a literal, real-life simulator. There's even videos on the internet of people getting married in GTA roleplay.
Alright, me, Gonzo, being the LFA of the barrio, I pronounce KJ and Maxi, man and wife. Let's go! Yes, sir, man, go ahead.
My experience with roleplay has been a quite love-hate relationship. When I began roleplaying as a gangster, I was being mocked for being too mafia. When I began roleplaying as a militia, I was mocked for being too spy-like, and I can confidently say that there's only been a couple of roles I was able to fit right into. Roles of a law enforcing officer or a businessman. I fit right into those roles as I already had a lot of audio-visual, aka media-based knowledge since I had watched movies, documentaries and TV shows, and I've played games that pertain to such professions. But I can say one thing for sure. I was into it. Yes, from head to toe, I was completely immersed into this world of role-playing because I used to enjoy being someone who I couldn't be in real life, or rather find it difficult to be in real life. And as you might have guessed, this is the part of the video where I tell you why role-playing is a tragedy. In this ever-evolving dynamic world that we live in, which moves fast, there lies you. Yes, you, the person watching this video, who might have also indulged in role-playing in one game or another. Now, to be honest, role-playing to you wasn't bad at all. Like, genuinely. I don't think anyone who has experienced true interactive roleplay could disagree that role-playing is indeed fun. We get to be someone we're not, and the fact is that none of us are special. We may be unique and special in our own way, and I can tell you that as if we were in a Disney movie, but the underlying fact remains the same. You are just one person of billions of others like you, and you, my friend, are in no way special. I don't intend to sound cynical, but how many inventions have you created that have changed the world? How many people do you think would remember you and still learn about you after you pass away? How many of you are playing roleplay games sitting in your depressingly quiet and gloomy room wherein you roleplay and live the life of a fictional character you probably could never be? Have you ever pondered why gaming is often given the tag of being an escape from reality? It is because it distracts your mind and gives you solace in something less scary and challenging than the real life problems that you're facing. Now amplify this escape by 10 times. Give oneself the ability to choose a name for themselves, the ability to write a backstory for themselves, and give them a fast-paced dynamic environment where things happen 3 times faster than they do in real life. In summary, give them a ticket to living a new life. As incredibly absurd as it sounds, you don't even realize that you put yourself in a virtual society being someone who you chose to be. That is when your escape has become the deepest one you could imagine. When you become consistent at escaping reality at this level, you will realize how deep this rabbit hole goes. No puns intended. It will fill a void in your heart and get you emotionally attached to whatever you're role playing as. Because this is so wonderful. You're given complete liberty to choose your spawn stats, aka what you're born with, and you're given the chance to progress in life faster than in real life and do whatever you could want to do in the role playing game. This is it, this is the point of no return. You are now too immersed in this world, and unless there's a tragedy that can't be put off for the future, for example, an exam or work or your parents kicking you out of the house for being a liability, you're going to like being in this alternate reality. This is where it just gets sad. You see, most people who are so into roleplaying and play their favorite roleplay servers on a daily basis are aged between 12 to 30, and it is a fact that this age is considered as the youthful age of a person's life, where you basically have no issues of aging. You're young, confident, fertile, energetic, and your body and your heart, unless you have some sort of illness, it will be very supportive of your raging spirit to conquer the world, and to do something, to be someone, and to live life. This is literally the time of your life where you will build yourself up to someone you'd like to be for the rest of your life. This is where you start. But the tragedy comes to light when you realize that you're putting all this time and all these thousands of hours into an alternative world which will never even come to exist. I picture it as a bar of chocolate. You can eat it while it lasts. You'll find it sweet. You'll like the taste of the chocolate melting on your tongue, and it'll also help in making you less hungry. But once you finish the bar of chocolate, it's just no longer there. That bar of chocolate is gone. And so is your time gone playing on these roleplay servers which will not amount to anything in real life. Now the question you might have, is there a way out of here? The answer is yes. There of course is a way out of here, sweetheart. Just stop playing the game, like literally just don't play the game again and find something else to do, or just grab another game that doesn't involve all this role-playing crap. I know for many people this is easier said than done, just because of how much connection they've established with many of these role-playing servers and communities. Like I said, these games fill a void in your heart, so first let's understand what this void really is. Also, be sure to disagree with me since I might not be 100% on point, but this is just what I think from my personal experience. The void in your heart may come in all ugly colors, ugly shapes, and ugly sizes, but this void can be dealt with, granted that you identify its nature correctly and then take the necessary measures to stop having the desire to play these role-playing games altogether. Now, I discovered multiplayer role-playing or LARP during late 2019, and the game I picked at the time was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, on a third-party modification known as SA Multiplayer or SAMP, which has unfortunately slowly begun to fade away from the face of the internet for the devs not giving much care to it anymore, and for the rising popularity of GTA 5 based roleplaying. Luckily or unluckily, my LARP experience kickstarted as soon as lockdowns began and COVID started becoming mainstream. This was the time period where I, as a 14-year-old kid, had one of the best periods of my life. School was out, so no more of those annoying kids and teachers, no homework, no extra tuition, and no more having to wake up early. And just the fact that I had internet, YouTube, games such as Minecraft on my computer, I could really just play games all day long. And you best believe that I made the most out of this period in my life. It still is in my head as a sweet memory with nothing but just pure gratitude for a time where I was having way too much fun. For all my life, I was cock-blocked from having so much fun, and when I finally had it, I enjoyed it. But not so soon after, school became an online classroom with the same homework and subjects that I didn't like. And also the tuition turned into a personal Skype call. And I'll say this, studying was important, but my mind was invested elsewhere during that time. I felt kind of good and bad about it at the same time, just because of how everything was online, and I was excited for that because it was new for someone like me. I could just attend classes and study online. But it was honestly a joke for most of us, since we were really just slept during classes and cheated on exams to pass the classes. Yeah, but this is the good part. The bad part was the fact that school could resume any day and I didn't want this period to end. During this time, I found a role-playing / free roaming game on SAMP, which I was immediately hooked to. This game had real players whom I could talk to and roleplay with as soon as I input a command that changed my gaming state that indicated to other players that I was now roleplaying. Roleplaying as what, you may ask? Well, a fictional character called Terrence Jackson, who is keen on becoming a part of a yellow color banging Hispanic gang called Los Santos Vagos, which was a gang run by a real player, which also had its presence in the original GTA SA game. I tried my best to roleplay and I even got in. But soon after the gang disbanded and I was left as a free agent, so I decided to do heists to earn some money. I robbed stores, I stole cars, and delivered them to a checkpoint, which was also called exporting in the main game. After some time, the mod of the game decided that they were going to remove 2 gangs and add 2 original gangs of Grove Street Families and Front Yard Ballers. They put up an intervention or like an election for it with a form on their website, and I contested for the leadership of the Ballers. But somebody else called Sunny was chosen, and I had some enmity against him at first, but since he had been playing for longer, I was sure that he would do a better job, so I asked him if I could join instead, and I joined his gang as a soldier or a soldier boy and went back to roleplaying as a gang member. Not so soon after, I decided that the gangster gimmick wasn't really my thing, so I made a new character and became Sean Hemsworth, who is a young, freshly graduated individual seeking employment in the police department. So on the website, I wrote a form and I got in. Luckily, I got in. I swear to you, just as soon as I posted my application to be a cop, I waited and manifested a positive response for 2 goddamn days of 48 hours. I was always on the website refreshing the page, waiting to see if the leader replied to my application. And when he did, I was really happy and excited to begin roleplaying, and I absolutely loved the experience. Now I can't tell you the entire lore of my roleplaying journey since that would stretch the video to be extremely long and unnecessary, but I'd like to break down why roleplaying felt so much fun and appealing to me. You see, I started playing this game during a period where I absolutely disliked my regular school life. Thanks to the pandemic, I could go on playing it for hours as a kid with no responsibility. I got to be who I chose to be, and I could be whoever I wanted to be, if it was possible in the game. But the question is, would that be possible in real life? I wanted to be Terrence Jackson, a Hispanic gangster in the 90s Los Angeles. In reality, I was a 14-year-old Indian boy with prepubescent voice at the time. Thank fuck the server was text-based so I could act like the thug I am. I even wanted to be Sean Hemsworth, a privileged white man who is far more educated than me, and eventually become a cop in the police department as an officer. In reality, yeah, you get it. There's some things you just can't be and can't change about yourself. And that's what you find appealing, to live the life of someone who you're not or you cannot be. Another aspect that binds our hearts to these type of games is the fact that we're fucking loners who don't have many friends in real life. So we seek friendships in this virtual setting, and we even have cool experiences with the people that we meet. I'll admit it, I've met some cool people on the internet playing this game, and shout out to all these people. I love you guys way more than the others that I've met. Friendships often come to be friend circles, or friend circles often come to be friend groups, since if you're friends with someone, then they could be friends with another person who is so more often than not just into the same shit as your friend is. And that's a friend group right there. As male human beings, we are used to being a part of tribes. And if you weren't in a tribe, you probably had a hard time surviving or had a bad life expectancy out in the wild. Men in the armies of empires and kingdoms, men in the armies of states, men in a partnership business or just employees of a business organization. Roles have changed over the course of so many years, but the need has more or less remained the same. That is to belong to a tribe. And that's the reason why you love your gang in your roleplay server. That's why you love joining the same Fortnite lobby and getting those epic victory royales over and over. That is why you love being a part of your posse in Red Dead, and that's why you like your Call of Duty squad. Joining a gang in this game for me brought me the false sense of me being in a tribe. I mean, it was for real, but not real enough that it'll last longer than a couple of months, or even translate as something that has a link with the outside world. That's what really manipulated my heart to have a connection with the people that I met and the tribes that I became a part of. Now, this is literally me giving you anecdotes as to what I meant to say when I mentioned that these games are built upon people who either have the impending doom ahead of them, like an exam or their parents kicking them out of the house, or the fact that they're loners and have no friends. But sometimes it's just both of these things together. Literally me at the time. Now, since you've heard enough relatable stuff from my experience, let's see if there's a real way to end this desire of having to play this game. Well, try to identify if this is what you suffer from and stop running and fix that shit for yourself in real life. That's literally what I did. Have courage in yourself and your capabilities to fix what you're trying to run from. I went out and found myself a lot of friends, and I stopped running from the impending doom, which was school, and I found myself stuff to do or to be. And that changed my perspective towards life. Now that I had literally fixed the underlying reasons why I became addicted to this game in the first place, even if I ended up in the same situation as the past me today, I wouldn't go back to roleplaying because it made me realize that life too is the same as the video game. Roleplaying in these games is fun, but it is best to keep them at a distance from yourself since it is hella manipulative to your brain and to your heart. And if you go back to it again and again, it will slowly take you over again, and you don't want that to happen since jumping between the fences in itself is difficult. You can choose whether you like real life better or the game life better, but I just hope that you choose real life because it is far more superior compared to the gaming life, in my opinion. This brings us to another part in the video where I compel you to either stay in it or reach out for the real world. No, this is not an Andrew Tate or Iman Ghazi promotion. All of us have a hard time. It's just the way life is. Stuff doesn't always go to plan. I'm afraid that shit happens. But that's what's so great about us humans. We're always here to solve problems. And if your life didn't have problems, then it would just be a boring ass 8-year-old journey of being silly and then dying. You wouldn't have the marvels that exist in this world today if it wasn't for our trait and desire to solve a problem. You wouldn't have Rome, space exploration, philosophy, society, technology, or anything at all. My best guess is we wouldn't even have a reason to evolve further and just be Unga Bunga humans. But since we're literally an overpowered version of the early Homo sapiens, we're bound to evolve into much superior or inferior beings in the future as time goes on and do even crazier shit granted that the world isn't engaged in a nuclear conflict and end us all before Elon Musk could fire a rocket to another planet and pull off some interstellar plan A or plan B type of shit to save the species and the civilization. Fix the underlying problem first and then give yourself an ambition as to what you want to be in life and act upon it. It takes longer but it also lasts longer and has more of an impact than your silly role-playing game.
It's like when I'm doing good in the game, I'm doing good in life.
Oh, I want to make fun of you for saying that, but I kind of know what you mean.
It's like I'm thriving.
You're thriving. Yeah, I did.
I'll leave the task of figuring out what you'd like to be since you'd technically be the best at doing that. But if you still enjoyed role-playing as a character in your role-playing game, then why not be them? Don't change your skin or your roots, but I'm sure you can choose their traits and their personality along with their profession. Wouldn't that be good enough? I realize that not everyone is privileged to think of something like this and we probably have many different lives and problems, but to each their own. If you find literally nothing else interesting, then why not be someone you were in the game? Don't go to the extremes and be a gangster or a hitman or something like that. Do something within the bounds of the laws in your area. I'm just legally covering my ass, but for real though, I mean, if you roleplay as a journalist in the game, then why not get a college degree in journalism? Build up a commendable portfolio and put in the work for several years, then eventually apply to a news agency to get hired. If you roleplayed as a cop, then why not pass the required tests and exams and join the academy to become a cop? If you roleplayed as a business owner, then why not start an enterprise and literally be the businessman in real life? Wouldn't it be super cool if whatever you roleplayed as you could literally do in real life? It would be so much more immersive and enjoyable, and above all, it would all be for real this time. Now, I must warn you that choosing a path like this is going to be hard. It is going to be overwhelming to think about initially and it's just going to be a lot of hard work, so be prepared for that even if you dare to think of doing something like this. Role-playing as this character or this profession in the game was easy, and that's what made you play the game and like it, and you might even like it in real life. It's just that it's going to take a while and a lot of effort. It also requires money, but so does everything these days. Your world limited by money is still a thing pretty relevant, even when it comes to gaming. To elaborate, you needed to buy CS Prime to play competitive matches and earn ranks. You needed to pay for Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC to play more of Cyberpunk. Similarly, you also have to pay for internet to watch this video, and you require money for good education, big opportunities, good well-being, latest technology, and decent housing. The truth is, if you have a lot of money then you can quite literally do anything you want, but if you're limited by money, you can't go to that expensive college for a degree. You cannot start your business because you have no funds for even starting it. You cannot travel and explore the world because your pockets aren't as deep. You cannot date women because you can't afford a hefty restaurant bill. You cannot buy the latest clothing because you cannot afford to keep updating your wardrobe every month. It isn't fair, but we live in a capitalist society and so this is how it all works. People have accepted it for what it is and we all need to accept it too. I haven't read a good book on capitalism, but I can say that this is another version of the renowned survival of the fittest challenge. The currency to grow your fitness in this world is to acquire wealth. It has more or less remained the same thing, it's just that the tilt has made everything else come to you automatically if you have wealth. The whole point is, life is truly bigger than this role-playing game. Yes, it takes time to do something or to be someone. Matter of fact, this video of me just yapping probably took me a month to properly make and upload, but it is a part of life for an amateur like me. Right now making this video essay is difficult for me, but when I get proficient at writing out my thoughts, editing properly, etc., I'll probably halve or make this kind of shit in a quarter of the time required for me to do it today. So, it all boils down to your willingness to seek change. You may not like your life outside roleplaying or you may not be at your own thought out potential, but that's what I'm here to tell you. There is more to life than the roleplaying game. You've seen and learned a lot from the game. I'm sure of that because I did too. But what's the point of learning so much yet never using it in real life where it could make a big difference? I know it's scary to think. What if it doesn't work out? Well, what? What if it doesn't work out? In the worst case scenario, you'd fail, cry a couple of times because it didn't work out. If you fail, then you'd technically be proving my point right, since I did say that life is just like the video game and stuff doesn't always go to plan, afraid shit happens. But luckily, we're problem creators and problem solvers. Creators if you have no problems, and solvers if you already have problems. I really hope that made sense. Granted that you embarked on your journey to fill the void in your heart and still failed, the problem has now transcended so much further, spiritually, emotionally, and problematically on the scale that now, if you fix this problem of it not having worked out in your first try, you'll solve the problem again, only to now go at it again with experience, therefore bettering your chances of success by a whole lot. I've experienced the same thing despite being so young, and I consider myself lucky because though it did put me through tough times and made me cope through these role-playing games, it put me in enough anger and hatred with my current life that it made me change. All you need is a wake-up call. Heed this video as your wake-up call. In life, there's friction, a lot of it. There's also friction when you try to think of taking such bold steps in an attempt to better your life. But luckily, there are some things and some people who help in reducing that friction for you. So, while you're stood on the side of the street where the grass isn't green, let this video serve as the crosswalk that helps you safely cross the street infested by vehicles that carry pessimistic thoughts, only to run you over and stop you. Walk across and away on a quest to find where the grass is greener.